In the last section, we got a very high-level overview of the application that we're going to be building. Remember, it's essentially a feedback collection application. In this section, we're going to do a very detailed walkthrough of how a user will make use of our application, and then we'll start to talk about all the different technologies that we're going to need to create every step of the flow, or every step of our application. So let's talk about how they're going to use it. Again, pretty detailed walkthrough here. We're going to be implementing each and every one of these steps from as absolute scratch as possible inside this course. Now, already you're probably thinking, Stephen, enough of the diagrams, let's get to writing some code. But I just want to be really clear that we're going through all this stuff ahead of time so that you get a pretty clear picture in your head of all the different things that we're going to be working on and kind of a rough idea of the order in which we're going to tackle every step. So let's just focus for right now, and we'll start writing code very shortly. Okay, so here's what's going to happen when someone comes to our application and decides to use it. First off, we need some type of authentication. We need some way of identifying our users and associating some type of account with them when they sign up for our service. So I'm thinking that when a user first comes to our application, they will sign in or sign up with Google OAuth. Remember, Google OAuth is the type of thing you see when a website has a button that says like, sign in with Google. So rather than using email or password combinations or anything kind of tedious like that, I'm thinking we'll just use Google OAuth and keep our authentication nice and easy to get through. Then whenever a user signs in, remember, we want them to pay us money to send out emails or to send out these kind of surveys to collect feedback from users. We're not doing this whole thing for free. We want to get some amount of money out of it. So after a user signs in, we might then ask them to add some money to their account or to just pay us some money. Rather than having any type of recurring subscription service, we're going to use a type of credit-based service where a user will purchase some number of credits that will allow them to send out some number of emails. We'll talk about exactly why we're taking this credit-based approach as opposed to any type of subscription later on in the course, but believe me, there's a very good reason for it. After a user has paid us some amount of money, they can then create a new campaign or a survey to send out to all the users. Now, we're going to be using the term campaign and survey somewhat interchangeably throughout the course, but essentially the user is going to create something that says, I want to send out a feedback collection email to all these different people. So they'll create their campaign, and then that user will enter in a list of all the different emails that they want to send their survey to. So remember, the user in this case that we're referring to here, we're kind of imagining this is a product owner or a startup owner. So this user, as we're referring to them right here, is going to have a collection of emails that belong to their users or the people who are using their application. It's essentially the people that they want to collect some amount of feedback from. Once the user gives us this big old list of emails, and maybe it's 1 email or 20 or 1,000, whatever it might be, we will then create and send an email to send to all of those people, all those surveyees, so to speak. Those surveyees will be sent an email, and inside that email will be a simple link that they can click on to give some feedback to this user or to the person who's actually using our service right now. Once we get all that feedback from these kind of sub-users or from the people who are using the startup owner's application, we will tabulate all that feedback somehow and then create a report of sorts so that our user can get a sense of what people think of their application, or just kind of get a sense of what feedback they're receiving from their users. So that's the entire flow. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to do one more quick flow through it, or one more quick walkthrough through it, and then we'll talk about some of the different technologies that we're going to be using for every step inside this process right here. Again, it's really important to me to make sure that you understand exactly what we're building from the absolute get-go here, because trust me, as soon as we start writing code, things are going to get pretty crazy pretty quickly. So let's take a quick break, come back, and talk about some of the technologies we're going to use.